Hello and welcome to the Vogue Business and Dept Masterclass series on how to build an e-commerce brand for the future. My name is Bella Webb. I'm editorial associate at Vogue Business. Throughout the 3 episodes of this series, I will be joined by brands from fashion, beauty, and luxury to discuss how to build an e-commerce brand for the future. For this week's episode, I'm joined by Hana Kajimura, who is Head of Sustainability at San Francisco and New Zealand-based lifestyle brand Allbirds, which recently raised more than $300 million in its initial public offering. Hi, Hana. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Bella. Thanks for having us.
You have spearheaded Allbirds' carbon program, building out its life cycle analysis tools and carbon footprint labeling system. How do these efforts help shape your e-commerce strategy?
Yeah, so I joined Allbirds 4 years ago, and the company itself was founded in 2016. So we have been on this journey really since day one. And I think I had the good fortune of really inheriting the mission that the founders had, which was really founded on the belief that climate change is the biggest issue facing humanity right now. And so our real North Star is to reverse climate change through better business. And we happen to be a footwear and apparel lifestyle brand that is trying to do that. But our sustainability strategy and that mission is really central to how we define business success. So this past year, we came out with our plan, which we're calling the Flight Plan. And what that is it's a set of 10 goals that ultimately ladder up into a climate target. So we're shooting to reduce our per product carbon footprint by 50% by the end of 2025 and drive it down by 95% by 2030. So that means that in 2030, each of our products will have a carbon footprint that's less than 1 kilogram of CO2. And that sort of puts the bounds around our business growth and what is possible. And it's a trade-off between how fast we can grow the business and how quickly we can decarbonize that will really dictate the future for us.
So within that, is there a limit to how many products Allbirds can sell to stay within those commitments and targets?
Yeah, you can basically imagine there's like 2 main variables that go into our carbon footprint. One is the amount of products that we make and sell, and the other is that per product carbon footprint. And so we can flex both of those things, but ultimately the 2 numbers, when multiplied together, have to fit within a certain boundary. And that is the boundary set globally by the Paris Agreement and the ambition to keep emissions below 1.5 degree warming. And so the faster, traditionally, I guess, the 2 numbers kind of grow together. Your business grows and you multiply that by the number of emissions per product, and your carbon footprint just keeps growing. The only way your business can grow quickly and keep within your carbon budget is if that per product number comes down even a lot faster than your business is growing. And that's effectively the challenge that we have for ourselves, is to get today our per product average is around 10 kilograms of CO2 per pair, which is already about a 30% reduction from the industry standard, we think. And that number needs to go to less than 1 by 2030. And that's the centerpiece of this plan for us.
You have certain models that are already closer to 1. Can you tell us a little bit about that quickly?
Yeah, I think the main example of that that we're really excited about has been our partnership with Adidas, where we worked with them jointly to create a product that really measured CO2 emissions at every step along the way and had that constraint of the ambition was to try to break 2. So not quite 1, but to get less than 2 kilograms of CO2. Ultimately, we ended up at 2.94, which is very close. And that is the result. I think what's really exciting about that is that's the result of very focused effort to pretty much singularly reduce CO2 emissions while keeping great performance, obviously. And what's exciting is that that was done in 12 months with technology and materials that are available today. It's just a totally different way of making shoes. And it's a different mindset for designers and developers and business people around how to design, make, ship a product around the world. But ultimately, it's what our entire industry needs to move to if we want to stay within these global climate targets.
Mm. Within the e-commerce sector more broadly, consumer expectations of their user experience, of shipping, are constantly evolving. What does this mean for sustainability? Are there certain consumer expectations that Allbirds just won't try to meet?
Yeah, I think today it's really about shifting the way that we have traditionally done things. So the consumer expectation, for example, today of second day delivery, for example, like the only way we can do that today is by putting it on a plane, which is far worse than putting it on a boat from an emissions standpoint. And that simply will not fly in 2030 while meeting these goals. And so what we have to do is totally reimagine the logistics and shipping industry. Like I'm not going to say we won't be able to do 2-day shipping in 10 years, because hopefully, I mean, it's no small feat, but hopefully in 2030, maybe we could imagine a world where airplanes are flying on biofuels or electricity that's powered by renewables. And that could be a world that's compatible with these rising customer expectations. But today it's not possible. Like today, the lower emissions activities tend to take longer. In the case of shipping, what is great is that ocean shipping is far cheaper than air shipping. So it is one of these examples where sustainability really aligns with business incentives, which is really great for a person like me. We have to continue to push technology forward and create demand signals for these new technologies and ways of doing things.
I imagine a really key part of that is managing consumer expectations and, I guess, educating them through storytelling on the e-commerce platforms. Can you tell me a little bit about your strategy for communication through e-commerce and how you decide what and how to communicate about sustainability?
Yeah, that's a really, really great point, because I think people generally want to do the right thing. And we are seeing all of this real sea change of customer sentiment where they really want to align their personal values with the things that they buy and wear. And if we can explain that trade-off a little bit more intentionally, that this might take a little bit longer to get to you, but it is going to be less than 1 kilogram of CO2, and that is something that's compatible with the world we want to see. I think people really get that and are willing to make that trade-off, just nobody ever takes the time to explain it to them. And so our approach there really is about providing these many moments of sort of bite-sized content that allows the customer to sort of keep double clicking as they learn more and they become more interested. So whether that is printing the carbon footprint label on each of our products, or providing more sustainable care instructions on the care label of the product, all the way down to like very detailed spreadsheets on our website if people really want to dig in that far. We're trying to really meet the customer where they are on their journey and help them go deeper. And I think that really is ultimately the lasting impact that a company like Allbirds will have on the climate crisis. Is, we have to make lower carbon products, but our real superpower in this global battle is storytelling and getting people to care and feel passionate about this issue. And I think because we are vertically integrated and have this direct line to the customer, we're even better positioned to sort of be the storytellers.
I wonder, can you give us an insight into some of the conversations that you're having with your team about your e-commerce strategy at the moment? What are some of the key challenges that you're facing?
I think it's all about really what we've sort of talked about, which is about shifting from the way that things have been done for centuries to new ways of doing things that are more compatible with the kind of world we want to see. And that's a slow shift. I mean, we're seeing huge challenges in global supply chains right now that are making everything slower and more expensive and harder. But like particularly, if we want to put something on a boat, it already used to take, let's say 60 days, now it takes even longer. And that certainly creates challenges to meeting customer expectations, like you said. And I think we as a brand with a growing platform can really use our demand to signal the kinds of things we need. But we can also be really transparent with the customer about the challenges that we're facing and how that dovetails with our different goals as a business. But I think what's really important for us and has been crucial to our success is really having our sustainability goals and plans be completely interlinked with our business and financial targets. So we do have a sustainability strategy, but that ladders up into our overall corporate strategy. The 50% reduction in our carbon footprint sits right next to all of those other financial metrics that the business is chasing. And so we really set goals keeping all of that in mind. And of course, it comes with conflicts because not everything doesn't align all the time, but it really forces those tough conversations of, if we're going to expedite a shipment, what happens to our carbon footprint? And does that endanger us meeting either a financial target or a sustainability target? And how are we going to make that trade-off? And I think as long as you're having those conversations as a business and looking at those things side by side, it's going to lead to better outcomes. And I think that's sort of the new business paradigm that we all need to shift to.
Mm. And on the flip side of that, what are some of the key opportunities that you see for Allbirds within the e-commerce space in the next kind of 5 to 10 years?
I'm really excited about using our sustainability plan to drive some of that change. So I think what is a little bit unique about our plan is that we had a fully baked and very detailed plan when we announced our target. So we have these big ambitious goals to get to near zero emissions by 2030. And we've mapped out exactly what needs to change both within our business and within the broader world to get there. And there's a lot of change that needs to happen in the broader world. I mentioned some of those things, like we need to imagine that everything is running on renewable energy around the world, including our factories. We need to imagine that people aren't just shipping by ocean liner, but those ocean liners are running on biofuels. And because we have such a clear vision of what the future needs to look like to get to keep warming below 1.5 degrees, we can really use our influence to incentivize some of those technology changes.
Amazing. And just before we wrap up, any final thoughts from you on how to build an e-commerce brand for the future?
I think it goes back to that idea of really integrating carbon emissions and business impact and value. Those two things, if you're just managing towards one, I think you'll either miss the business growth and value part, or your footprint will grow faster than it can. And so you really have to hold both at the same time, which is a hard thing to do sometimes, but that's why we have these human brains that can handle nuance and not need to be either or, but really make trade-offs in real time. And I think I'd encourage business leaders to really have a way to measure and look at both of those metrics at the same time.
Thanks, Hannah. That's all we have time for today.
Thanks, Bella. Thanks so much for having us.
Join us for our next episode, where we will continue to explore how to build an e-commerce brand for the future. There will also be a full report that you can register to download on the Vogue Business website. Goodbye.